One thing I've been worried about is that this contact point here looks very fragile, and it seems like I may have just finally severed it. So let's take a look at that. That's about as close as I can get, and you can see how frayed it looks. And one way to test this is to simply go back here and try these contact points, and there's nothing. However, over here, how about we turn this on first. So again, we got no power over here, but we do have power in here. And we do have power on the positive, but not on the negative. So I did fray that connection, and that's going to be one thing that you're going to need to watch out for, because the stuff does get delicate. Now in this case, I want to run a piece that's definitely long enough to reach into there and then get out of there as well. So this is a case where the copper tape is not adding to the conductivity. And I don't know why that is the case. But now that I think of it, what I'll do is just blob a little bit of solder in there and see if that'll work. So it looks like my only option is to run an entirely new piece of copper tape over the top. So I may have had to put another piece of copper down. That's fine, it works now. It does mean I'll have to reseal over this again, of course, but with the decals still to do, that was pretty much a given no matter what. I'm glad to see that it was relatively easy. It doesn't look too bad. I'm sure it's not as good as it could have been if it had only been one coat of foil, as it was initially. However, it works, and that's what matters. One thing that is probably the case is that in trying to throw that solder blob down in there is I am going to have to carve away just a little bit of the upper piece here so that this is going to fit now, because I'm sure it's not. And indeed, I am correct. So let me get a razor blade here. Another place I have to deal with is I tried sanding this away, but I really need to do it with a razor blade, it looks like. That's alright, it works, it looks good. So this gouge may look tough right here, but it's actually needed to make that work. That doesn't look bad at all. It works. Visually and hopefully physically. Let's power up the lower hull to make sure this works again. There's the one I'm worried about. Pretty darn good, I'd say. Very, very nice looking. Very, very nice. So this neck works really well. There is a dead dark spot going straight down that first row on the left of LEDs. However, it's a really small price to pay considering how well everything is lit. In this front corner, as you can see as it exposes down, is still a bit dark, so a single segment of LEDs pointing sideways into that area will fix that problem. And I should also note that even though all the plastic here has been frosted glass, the same amount of coats, with regular LED tape you can clearly see every single LED. However, with Ultra Smooth you really just don't see anything at all. You certainly see the strip there, and a little section of it or two may seem like they're hot spots, but overall everything really just disappears. You have to be at a really extreme angle to be able to see the LEDs themselves. And in this case, looking at it from the angles that we're going to be looking at it, you're never going to see the LEDs. However, if there were regular ones up there, you would be seeing hot spots. Smooth would not be too much better, but it would be better overall. Ultra Smooth, it's the only way to go. But for Windows, regular is perfect. And speaking of perfect, don't these just look beautiful? So if I built this again, I don't know that I would put that blue LED at the front and the back of each nacelle as is there. I don't know that it really helps out all that much. Another thing is that if you look at the front of the nacelle, you can see the exposure going as my thumb goes by. That's because there's nothing to stop you from seeing straight through to the other side. So anything that's going on the other side of these nacelles, the grills, it can be seen. So one smart thing to have done, or to do next time, is to take a sheet of styrene and run it perpendicular down from the front of that tape at least as far into this area here, because once you get to these smaller side grills, there are no real issues of seeing through things at all. But that front, it's definitely distinct. So everything's really well lit, but not overwhelmingly. It is running at 9 volts, so why don't I turn it up to 12? And so here we are with an exposure lock at 9 volts, going up to 12, 10, 11, 12. Let's release the auto exposure. Bam. Similarly, let's expose down to 9 volts. That's how much dimmer it is overall. I just thought I had a major terrible accident, but all I really did was turn down the voltage by accident. 1 volt. 2 volts. We have red engines. 2.2 volts. We're getting blue and cool white. 2.5. 3 volts. 4. 4.5, and we're starting to get something on the interior. 5. 6. 6.5. 7. 7.5. We're starting to get some major light. 8 volts. Nice. 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, 12. Really nice. I just realized that all the stress has broken the legs off the red impulse LED, and it's also putting a stress on the LED tape there. So I'm going to stop messing around with it rather, and I think it's decals for the nacelles and a third coat of clear for the top there. Thanks for watching. See ya.